Shalom, Yashar Allah. First and foremost, I'd like to give all glory, honor, and infinite praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakhachodash. Double honors to beloved elders and the apostles at Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to all you hopeful elect Akim out there laboring that are pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. This is your brother Amar from the GMS Boise, Idaho camp, and I'm doing this lesson, based on, the building of this ministry and the building of yourself in this truth, because we are a representation of a temple, because the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai dwells within us, an Israelite, an elect, a hopeful elect Israelite from the seed of Jacob, which are the only people that Israelites would come from. This is the spirit. The Ruach HaKodesh is not going to dwell in a heathen. It's not going to dwell in a malicious soul. And it's not going to dwell ultimately in those that give up on the building. When things get hard or whatever it is, being a part of this ministry and putting your hand to the plow, like the apostles say, it's worse than the mafia. This is a lifelong commitment. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. It's how much can you consistently do for Yahweh Bashim Yahushai to bring whatever talent He blessed you with, to be able to put a little video together, that's edifying, uplifting, exhorting, a testimony, a dream, whatever it is, a brother can bring something to, the edification of the flock, and if you're on a construction crew, and you got one guy that's just lazy and standing around, man, you're looking at him sideways, you're working hard, you're having to work double, just because you have a lazy ass coworker that doesn't want to do what he's supposed to be doing, and every Israelite man, should be doing something for this ministry, especially if you have two arms, two legs, a steady mind, that's more than enough blessing to be able to do something for Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Because what is this called? This is called a reasonable service, which means it's not unreasonable for the things that Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is asking us to do. Like scriptures say, roughly paraphrasing as well, what have you have suffered unto blood, which means we haven't even faced the persecution, by blood shed that we're having to deal with. No, man, you're worried about the looks that you're getting from people on the street that's stopping you from doing the work or whatever it is. How your family might look at you, how your woman might look at you. You won't have that Saturday open for your kids that you got to go pick up from your crazy ex-wife or whatever it is, man. So the point being is that you got to count the cost and understand that you are an individual piece of the temple that is being built, and you have a great opportunity to be of the elect, if you are doing this work in truth and in sincerity, according to the correct doctrine as we've been passed down and taught by our elders and apostles. But this is I'll start with St. Luke 14:28. For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? And this is a parable, obviously, talking about if somebody wants to build something, do they have enough money? Do they have enough resources to finish it? Well, that applies to us in the spiritual sense. Are you prepared for what's coming by you taking up the cross, by you taking and carrying your burden, or carrying the cross in this truth? Do you understand what is going to be required of you when you take the oath to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, that you're going to be a watchman, a prophet? Because you can't take that title and say, I'm a prophet, and you're not doing nothing with it. Luke 14:29, lest happily after he hath laid the foundation, and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him. And that's less happily after he had laid the foundation, the foundation is knowing you're an Israelite, knowing the names of Yahweh, Yahushai, the basics in this truth. But then you're starting to go to camp more. Your woman's getting on you. Oh, why you never have time for me on Saturdays anymore? That used to be our day. I don't think this is working out. I got to leave you. Oh, no, baby. Come on. Don't leave me, baby. Come on. I'll stop going to camp. Or like that one Jake, I don't know if he's still in Great Millstone, but you had a member of Great Millstone ask for 3 weeks off so he can focus on studying for his job. Hell no, man. You had a lot of the elders get involved really quick on reprimanding that man, because there ain't no way a prophet's gonna ask for 3 weeks off, man. Telling me in all that 520 some hours, I think the elder apostle Ramlob did the calculations that you can't find 10, 15 minutes in your day to do a video. You know, that goes for all of us. Because ultimately, if you fall out this truth, man, you're going to be a laughing stock, man. People are going to be like, man, you were bugged out on that Bible stuff. You were out there on the streets acting crazy, man. Your friends start looking at you sideways. Your family don't talk with you like that anymore. You know, so you're going to go back into a world, into relationships that are already dead and gone. So guess what? You're just going to get mocked and laughed at. Luke 14:30 saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Whew, that's what people are going to say, man, because that's human nature, man. People always want to see you fail rather than see you succeed. And that is just the hard facts of the type of demons that people have on them, man. Because who wouldn't want to see their brother succeed or start to live their life better? You know, well, like the parable goes, seeds fell on stony ground. Yep. So this is, I'm going to go straight to the point. Yeah, this is Matthew 13:5, and this is talking about the parable of the seeds and the sower. This is Matthew 13:5. Some fell upon stony places where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. Because you weren't grounded, you weren't fully invested, you weren't convinced in your own mind that this is the truth, so you weren't really rooted and grounded. So you fell out as soon as things started to get a little hot in the kitchen. And some, verse 7, and some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. This is the representation of the other people in your life that are going to go against you in this truth, you know, going to make it harder to do this truth. In some cases, it's your mother, your brother, your sister, your father, your cousins, your immediate family, whatever it is, man, you know, and some brothers think that's too much for them. Having to sacrifice time with the family and not be able to be there for fucking Christmas and to celebrate your birthdays is such a hard thing to do. Oh no. Oh, I better go back in the world because this is too hard. You bitch ass, you. Man, go back in the fucking world if you're more scared about your friends and family and their feelings more than what Yahweh Bashim Yahushai has made plainly clear, that we are supposed to be doing something on the building of his temple. You know, and that brings me to my next precept. This is Isaiah 28:10. For precept must be upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here little and there little. You know, because in the construction process, you know, you building up your temple, you know, it's not a quick process. You know I work in construction myself. You know, I do fucking rebar. You know, and it's one bar at a time, and there could be thousands of bars. You know, so if you try to do the whole thing all at once, I got to get this all done, you're going to go crazy. You're going to burn yourself out. It's not going to work. It's one nail at a time, one form at a time, one concrete pour at a time. You know, building and construction goes in phases. It's little by little by little. You got to prep the groundwork. You could set your cornerstone. You can set your concrete, etc., etc., and then you can, you know, start to see a building. You know, but your first, you know, let's say a couple months in the project or a couple months learning this truth, it's going to be pretty rough. You're going to get the very basics down. You may make a lot of mistakes. Things are going to get a little messy because you're getting the world off of you. You're fighting demons that you've had on you your whole life. You know, your family's getting demons on them coming against you. But if you've built yourself up, precept upon precept, line upon line, here little, there little, you know, you're going to really understand, you know, how to combat those demons, and that you're rooted and grounded in your own building, your own temple, which is yourself, you know, to be able to withstand anything that comes, you know, your way, you know, and making sure that you're building on a solid foundation, not on sand, which is another parable. So you see how many construction and building and engineering type parables there are in the scriptures, because those are things that logically make sense. So you can use those to logically explain to somebody how important it is to put your faith in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So that's going to lead me to my next scriptures. This is Ephesians 2, and I'm going to start at 19, start just talking about Yahushai. Now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of Yahweh. So that's ultimately when you come into this ministry, when you come amongst the brethren, when you are a member, a productive member, doing what you're supposed to do in this ministry, doing your videos, being a brother, charitable, taking care of the apostles, doing everything that you're supposed to do without anybody else having to tell you to do it. Obviously we all get coached up. We all are given quotas, and things that we got to do, in the sense of, this is what is required of Great Millstone, homeworks, lessons, camps, sit downs with brothers, etc. Ephesians 2 and 20, and are built upon the foundations of the apostles and prophets, Yahushai HaMashiach himself being the chief cornerstone, because Yahushai is the head of our ministry, in the sense that we wouldn't be able to understand the Bible unless he sacrificed himself for the Israelites, all of Israel, even though only 1/3, Salakia, that only 1/3, and the elect are going to return in this time. But his blood is sufficient for all the Israelites to ultimately be reincarnated in the kingdom of heaven, as pure souls, with new bodies, and Yahushua is the head of that, because we would not be able to understand the scriptures unless he did that sacrifice for the 7 seals to be loosened, which is the complete understanding of the scriptures. And Yahushua, we know, is a spirit of prophecy, and all the prophets and apostles have talked about, Yahushua and the coming judgment day, and the great judgment that's coming, And Yahushua has been there since the beginning with the nation of Israel, starting with Adam, and even before we were the Adamites, with creation, with the elect. And the whole earth that you see, feel, taste, and touch around you was created. So if you don't have Yahushua as the forefront of your ministry and your gospel, he is our only mediator to Yahweh, to the Most High. So to say that the writings of Apostle Paul and that certain things cannot be, what do they say? It's a dumbass E word, expiated or something like that. The book of Hebrews can't be expiated or some stupid shit like that. Like that, you can tell that those damn groups that are trying to nitpick the scriptures now definitely don't got the spirit on them. And they don't even teach in the name of Yahushua either. So they don't even have him as the chief cornerstone of their ministry, which we'll see how their foundation is set upon. That's why all these other camps are going to ultimately be taken down, and dismantled and be exposed in a really bad way. IUIC, ISUPK, and Genesis on for next, the next bug outs. Verse 21, in whom all the building fitly framed together groweth into an holy temple in the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, in whom you also are builded together for an habitation of the Most High through the Spirit. And that's a habitation through the Most High is talking about, each member of the elect is doing his part in building the temple, and doing what he's supposed to be doing in these last days and time, so that number, that perfect number, can be fulfilled. That 144,000 elect, and that's a number that you want to be a part of. And if you really want to be a part of it that much, you're going to be doing something. If you know that there's a camp in your area, you're going to be doing everything you can to hunt those brothers down to, be edified by Great Millstone, and as you can see, time is getting short, and this ministry is getting harder and harder to come by, because, hey man, there's talk about what's going on with other camps, and you can really see that, their congregation is lost, and we have to continue to be putting this message out so that those elect, those believers can ultimately hear this message, repent and start coming back to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai in truth and in sincerity. So that's why we do this, man, to make sure that the building that we're building is sufficient. And it's best that you can, man. Like I was saying, man, nobody wants to work on a construction crew and everybody's working hard, and then you just have one guy standing around taking a nap, fucking sitting in his truck, drinking coffee, watching everybody else work. Nah, man, he's gonna get called out and fired immediately. So do your best, do your part, because we're all building our own temple, in the sense that, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is working individually with each and every one of these brothers, for us to come together at camp, so that all the brothers, when we get together, it's such a natural flow that we're all in the same spirit, believing the same thing, and that's ultimately what it's talking about, where it says right here, and it said, Ephesians 2:21 again, in whom all the building fitly framed together groweth unto an holy temple in the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, because we're all speaking the same thing and we all fit perfect, which means we're not singing a key out of tune. We're not placing a piece of the roof where it's not supposed to be. Everything fits exactly where it's supposed to be, because we're all speaking the same thing. We're all looking at the same blueprint. We're all reading off of the same script, through one spirit in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Ruach. And Lord willing that this lesson was edifying unto the elect. Till next time, I would like to give all glory, honor, and infinite praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai Bahashem Ruach, and double honors to beloved elders and the apostles at Great Millstone that taught me this truth, and peace and salutations to all you hopeful Lektakim out there laboring, that are pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. Till next time, Lord willing, Shalom.